My stepmom tried forcing me to pay $800 to live in the house I bought, but when I revealed the deed with my name on it, her lies collapsed. My dad chose silence, and I watched their entire fake power trip explode in one brutal moment. My name is Ava, 29 female, and this entire situation happened just last month, leaving me shocked, quiet, and honestly still processing the audacity of it all. 2 years ago, I finally bought a house after years of grinding through freelance contracts, picking up shifts wherever I could, working 2 jobs at a time, and living with roommates longer than anyone should have to just so I could save enough for a down payment. But I did it. 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, sitting safely on a peaceful cul-de-sac where the nights were quiet and the mornings felt like a fresh start. The title was in my name, the mortgage in my name, the deed in my name, completely and unquestionably mine. Not long after I moved in, my dad's life started unraveling. He and my mom had divorced 5 years earlier, and he had remarried a woman named Lisa, 45, who introduced herself as an alpha female but refused to work because she was manifesting abundance into existence. After their wedding, my dad called me sounding embarrassed and desperate, saying that they had been evicted from their rental and needed a place to stay for 2 weeks maximum. And, because he was my dad, I said yes without question. They arrived with 3 suitcases, 2 Himalayan salt lamps, and Lisa's hairless cat named Mercury Retrograde. I cleared the guest room, stocked the fridge, set up the Wi-Fi, and tried to be nothing except kind and welcoming. But from the first day, Lisa stepped into my house like she was its spiritual landlord. She rearranged my furniture without asking, threw away my French press claiming it created bad energy, painted one of my walls lilac because the original color was too depressive, and even introduced me to her friends as her stepdaughter who's staying with us for a bit. I bit my tongue, smiled politely, and let it go because I didn't want to start drama. That is, until the day everything changed. Last month, I came home from a weekend work retreat feeling relaxed, only to find a printed note taped to my bedroom door. The note said, "Effective immediately. All residents must contribute to household expenses. Your rent is $800 per month due on the 1st. Cash only. Lisa." At first, I laughed because I truly thought it was a joke. But when I walked into the kitchen and found Lisa waiting with a spreadsheet asking whether I'd be paying by cash or Venmo, the humor disappeared completely. I looked at my dad, expecting him to step in, to clarify, to protect the basic reality that this was, in fact, my house. But instead, he said, "It's only fair. You've been living here for free." Free. In the house I purchased with money I earned and blood I shed. I didn't shout. I didn't argue. I simply walked to my bedroom, locked the door, and pulled out a folder from my filing cabinet labeled Property Documents. The next morning, I emailed my lawyer. And 3 days later, Lisa opened the front door to receive a formal 30-day eviction notice with her name printed boldly across the top. Her jaw dropped immediately as she whirled around to my dad and hissed, "You told me you own this place." And I replied calmly, "No, he just lives here for now." Lisa's reaction was theatrics at their finest. She stormed into the kitchen holding the eviction notice like it was poison paper. "You can't evict me," she screeched. "This is illegal. I live here." I continued stirring oat milk into my coffee without even looking up. "You don't have a lease," I said. "You're not a tenant." Her eyes nearly burst out of her head as she declared, "I'm your father's wife. That makes this our house." I turned to my dad, who looked like he wanted to melt into the wall and vanish completely. I gave him a chance to speak, but all he could manage was a weak, "Lisa, I never said it was my house. I just didn't correct you." That was when I placed the folder on the counter and opened it. Inside were the mortgage papers signed in my name, the purchase deed dated and notarized 6 months before they moved in, the property tax records all paid by me, the utility bills, the insurance documents, the HOA correspondence, every sheet pointing to one undeniable fact. I was the sole legal owner, the one who made every payment, the one who maintained every inch of this home. When Lisa saw the evidence, she didn't even read it. She just pushed the folder away and pointed a finger at me like an accusation could rewrite reality. "You'll regret this," she barked. I'll tell everyone you stole the house from your own father. My dad flinched and I said calmly, let her tell whoever she wants. The truth isn't a gossip story, it's paperwork. Lisa stormed out declaring she'd stay with her friend Crystal and manifest a new set of options. Even the cat hissed at me on the way out. I thought it was over, but I underestimated her commitment to drama. Because 2 days later, my aunt called saying Lisa was telling the family that I had manipulated my dad, that I had evicted them out of spite, that I had turned into some kind of corporate villain destroying family bonds. I didn't argue. I simply dropped a screenshot in the family group chat showing the county assessor's website with my name listed as the legal owner alongside a caption that said, just clearing up a few lies before they spread. The chat went silent. A cousin wrote, wait, they were living in your house. Followed by another message, Lisa said it was hers. And she tried to charge you rent? I'm screaming. By the next morning, my dad knocked on my door looking ashamed and small. Can we talk? He asked. I stood there in the doorway feeling the weight of every moment he'd let Lisa speak for him, override him, and disrespect me in my own home. I simply replied, 30 days. That includes you too. Then I closed the door. If I had believed that serving the 30-day eviction notice would bring peace, I was proven completely wrong because the days that followed felt like watching two people passing the 5 stages of grief back and forth like a hot potato. Lisa started with pure rage, storming through the hallways as if she were a villain in a dramatic soap opera, while my dad slipped straight into bargaining mode, pretending that if he acted normal long enough, I would magically forget everything. The very morning after I told him that the deadline applied to him too, he tried making me breakfast like nothing had happened, whistling softly and asking if I wanted eggs. I didn't respond because I was done playing housekeeper, mediator, or emotional crutch. Later that afternoon, I found a passive-aggressive sticky note on the bathroom mirror saying, it's not too late to do the right thing. Family over paperwork. I peeled it off without a word and tossed it into the trash. That evening, when I got home, Lisa was sitting at the kitchen table with a manila envelope sitting in front of her like it contained the solution to all our problems. We need to talk, she announced. She slid the envelope toward me with the confidence of someone delivering a royal decree. Inside, I found a typed rental agreement. I am not joking. That offered me $200 a month in ownership participation if I agreed to cohabitate peacefully and stop all legal action. It was signed by both Lisa and my dad, and there was even a clause demanding that I respect their spiritual need for control over the common areas. I laughed so hard I had to put a hand on the counter to keep from losing my balance. Lisa looked outraged. I'm trying to be diplomatic, she snapped. I turned to my dad and asked if this was a joke. He rubbed the back of his neck and mumbled, we just thought maybe we could have a fresh start. I cut him off immediately, because I knew what this was. It wasn't diplomacy, it was stalling, manipulation, and guilt painted over with a thin coat of fake politeness. They wanted time. They wanted control. They wanted me to doubt myself. And they wanted to avoid consequences. But I was done playing their game. I stood up slowly and looked at Lisa, without raising my voice. You both try to take over a house you never paid for, I said. You're not tenants. You're not owners. You're not victims. You're guests who decided you were entitled to rearrange, redecorate, and rewrite reality. Then I walked away and closed my door behind me, ending the conversation before it could become another round of delusions and excuses. But that didn't stop Lisa. The next day, my phone started blowing up with messages not just from family but from extended family, family friends, and even someone who used to babysit me. Apparently, Lisa had begun a full smear campaign, claiming that I was a heartless career woman who had evicted her poor, innocent stepfamily into the streets. I didn't respond to anyone individually. Instead, I posted 3 pictures in the group chat. A photo of the official eviction notice, a picture of the $800 rent invoice Lisa had taped to my door, and a selfie I took in front of my house with my name, clearly printed on the door plaque while holding a box of eviction papers. The caption read, I tried for months. They just didn't think I'd ever say no. No one replied. And Lisa deleted her Facebook the next morning. By the final week, the atmosphere inside the house became so thick with tension that it felt like breathing through wet wool. Lisa walked around acting like a wronged saint, burning sage every few hours while mumbling spells and slamming cabinet doors loud enough to make sure I heard every victimized sigh. She had stopped speaking to me entirely, choosing instead to bump into me in hallways and whisper, "It's sad what money does to people," before floating away like a bitter ghost. My dad, meanwhile, turned into a hollow shell of himself, wandering around from room to room without speaking, avoiding eye contact, not apologizing, not acknowledging anything, just existing like a shadow too afraid to commit to either side. And honestly, his silence hurt more than all of Lisa's drama combined because it proved he would rather be passive than protect his own daughter. The night before move-out day, I pulled into the driveway after work and stood frozen at the sight in front of me. My front yard looked like a garage sale hosted by someone in the middle of a mental breakdown. Lisa had spread her crystal collection across a velvet blanket with passive-aggressive price tags like $280, amethyst for cleansing toxic energy, especially daughters. The U-Haul was half-packed, and one of my throw pillows was stuffed inside a box with her vision boards, crystal grids, and yoga mats as if she somehow believed they belonged to her because she had touched them. Inside, the house was chaos. Boxes were piled everywhere. A salt lamp had broken and left a trail of pink dust across the floor, and turmeric was spilled all over the kitchen tile like a crime scene for someone who believed spices could curse a house. The cat, Mercury retrograde, meowed pathetically from a crate labeled fragile, contains aura. Lisa spun around the moment I entered. "This house is cursed," she screamed dramatically. "I hope your spreadsheets keep you warm." Then she turned to my dad and barked at him to say something. And for the first time in weeks, he actually looked at me. "Ava," he said quietly, "are you sure you want to do this? We're family." The word family hit me hard because it sounded like a weapon and a manipulation all at once. I realized then that he wasn't asking because he loved me. He was asking because he didn't want to face the real-world consequences of his choices. He was asking me to carry the burden again, to be the bigger person, to sacrifice myself for his convenience. And I refused. I stepped closer, keeping my voice calm and steady. Family doesn't lie about owning my home. Family doesn't let someone try to charge me rent in my own bedroom. Family doesn't treat me like a problem to be managed. And family doesn't watch it happen in silence. His eyes dropped to the floor because he knew every word was true. I continued. "Lisa crossed the line over and over again, but you watched. You let her speak for you. You let her threaten me. You let her disrespect the roof you begged to sleep under. And instead of setting the record straight, you let her believe a fantasy because it was easier for you." His face twisted in a way that showed regret, shame, and exhaustion all mixed together. He whispered, "I didn't want to make waves." And I responded, "You didn't make waves, you drowned in them, and you tried to pull me down with you." There was nothing left to say after that. I opened the front door and held it open in silence. At 11:03 the next morning, 3 minutes past the legal deadline, they left.
No hugs.
No thank yous.
No apologies.
No attempts at healing. Just Lisa muttering curses under her breath, the screech of an overstuffed U-Haul backing out, and my father refusing to look at me one last time. I stood there in the quiet long after they drove away, feeling the weight of everything they had done, everything they had taken advantage of, and everything I had finally taken back. Then I walked inside and locked the door behind them. For good. 2 weeks later, my aunt called to check in, which was really just her trying to measure the fallout. Lisa was apparently telling everyone that she had left voluntarily to start a candle business, and my dad was staying silent, hoping I would eventually cool off. From what I heard, they were staying with one of Lisa's friends, which probably meant sleeping in a spare room and pretending it was a spiritual retreat. I didn't respond. Instead, I changed the locks, installed a smart security system, repainted the walls Lisa had covered in energy cleansing symbols, replaced her salt lamps with real lighting, hung real art, and filled the house with plants until it finally felt like mine again. And on the guest room door, I hung a new plaque that read, No occupants.
No freeloaders.
No lies. I haven't heard from my dad since the day he left.
No επάλεγη. No explanation.
Nothing. And while that used to break my heart, I'm finally done waiting for a love that only shows up when it needs a place to stay. Here's what I know now. I didn't kick my father out. He chose to leave the moment he chose her lies over my truth. And for the first time in years, I'm not the one who lost anything at all.